Here to discuss that, Karoline Leavitt is here, National Press Secretary for the Trump campaign. She joins us on the phone. Hello, Karoline.
Hey, Vince. Thank you so much for having us. And you really just perfectly laid out the stark contrast in what we witnessed today between the former president and crooked Joe Biden.
It really is amazing. You know, I heard today Karine Jean-Pierre claim that Joe Biden has at least placed a call to New York Mayor Eric Adams to express his condolences. But do you find it odd that Joe Biden didn't take it upon himself to call the family here? Of course, Donald Trump has.
Well, how nice of Joe Biden to call Mayor Adams, whose policies led to the killing of Officer Jonathan Diller. Mayor Adams, Joe Biden are complicit in the loss of this brave New York police officer and this hero, and our hearts and prayers are with the family. I'm not surprised to hear that Joe Biden has not called his family. If he did, I'm sure the White House would have said that. That's why they're not saying it, because he didn't. And just like he didn't call Laken Riley's family to apologize to them, he actually mispronounced her name at the State of the Union and then apologized to her killer for calling him an illegal immigrant. So this is the type of man that Joe Biden is. He's a pathetic, corrupt career politician who doesn't actually care about the people that his policies are impacting. President Trump does. That's why you saw him embrace Laken Riley's family several weeks ago in Georgia, and that's why you saw him show up to the wake to pay his respects to Jonathan Diller's family today.
You know, I'm even seeing corporate news outlets admitting that Donald Trump does have a good relationship with police officers. Oftentimes when he goes to events anywhere around the country and they have police that are there to help arrange for, you know, things like just protection for the president, former president right now of the United States, that he oftentimes will spend time talking to those cops, and he appears to receive a lot of gratitude from them. Can you give us a sense of what it was like for him today, you know, on Long Island as he attended that wake?
Yeah, well, first of all, President Trump is widely respected and beloved by our law enforcement community across the country. And to your point, anytime I'm on the road traveling with the president and our team, our motorcade passes through beautiful communities in this country when we go from the airport to the venues of our events. And there are always local and state law enforcement who have their cars lined up, their motorcycles lined up to protect the president. They do it proudly and honorably. They're always saluting him and praising him. And he always makes a point to greet every law enforcement officer that he sees because he deeply respects what they do. And again, that's why he took the time out of his day-to-day to fly from Florida to New York to attend this service. He was honored that the family extended an invitation to him personally. He met with every single family member inside. He took some photos with some of the young children inside who were asking for them. And of course, he spoke that length with the widow, Stephanie, of Officer Officer Jonathan Diller, who's now their one-year-old son will have to know what it's like to grow up without a father. And it's tragic. The president spoke on it, leaving the wake. I know him well. I could tell he was very somber. How could you not be? And he just said, he was deeply honored to attend, that the family invited him, and that this is happening to too many families across our country. How many more police officers need to be killed? How many more innocent Americans need to be killed before Joe Biden does something? It's clear he's not going to do anything, and that's why it's so critical we reelect President Trump.
It is remarkable. Meanwhile, like I said, across town in the Radio City Music Hall in New York, there's a big fundraiser today for Joe Biden, and all of the living Democrat presidents, with the exception of Jimmy Carter, in attendance to try and raise money for him. What is the Trump campaign's impression of that event? The Democrats are bragging that they're going to bring in $25 million. They're saying that this is going to greatly enhance their war chest, well above and beyond any money that the Trump campaign currently has access to. What do you make of it?
Well, frankly, we think it's disgusting that Joe Biden is still moving forward with this ritzy, glamorous fundraiser tonight in New York, where the city is mourning the loss of one of their officers. It's a grave, frankly, slap in the face to the New York Police Department and, of course, Officer Diller's family. As for the fundraising goes, look, we've never expected to raise as much money from Silicon Valley and Hollywood like President Biden and the Democrats always do. But we also are confident that we will have the resources necessary to build out an army across this country of volunteers and paid staff, especially in key battleground states, to get out the vote for President Trump on November the 5th. And I'll also add that we are significantly outpacing Joe Biden when it comes to small dollar donations. In fact, our average digital donation online is $4. And that shows the strength of this political movement that President Trump has created. So we'll take the hard-earned dollars of real Americans who will definitely turn out to vote on November the 5th, than Joe Biden's small circle of elitists, liberal elitists who live in their mansions and their bubbles, but don't understand the issues that are impacting everyday Americans.
Yeah, it's interesting, too, that it comes on the same day that Joe Biden's second biggest political donor in 2020, Sam Bankman-Fried, was just sentenced to 25 years in prison for defrauding American citizens out of billions of dollars, much of which he gave quite a hefty sum to Democrats broadly and Joe Biden specifically. The Biden White House, the Biden campaign can't be loving that side by side today.
I'm sure they're not. And if it were a donor to President Trump's campaign, I can assure you our inboxes on Team Trump would be blown up with mainstream reporters questioning whether we would return the money, whether, all sorts of things. And I can guarantee the Biden campaign has faced no such similar questions today.
That's true. I've noticed. I was looking for that. You have to go back in time to find any news reporting on that subject. In fact, there's very little mention of it today. That this literally the second biggest donor to Biden's 2020 campaign was the guy who's now going to be serving 25 years in prison for robbing people.
Yep, exactly right. Imagine if that was one of President Trump's donors. There's such a double standard in the mainstream corporate press. It's absurd, but I think people see it. That's why the distrust in the media is at an all-time low in this country, unfortunately.
Barack Obama was on the flight today, headed in from Washington, D.C. into New York. He'll be there, of course, at this fundraiser this evening. We've seen reports from the New York Times that Obama is in a bit of a panic about Joe Biden's chances of even winning this election. He's now getting himself more involved actively in managing the campaign. What does that tell you, and are you at all concerned about Obama's role in this campaign?
Well, tonight in New York, you got the three stooges. You got Biden, you got Barack Hussein Obama, and you got crooked Clinton. So, no, we are not afraid or nervous at all about Obama trying to hit the campaign trail. He did it for Hillary in 2016, and look what happened. By the way, President Trump was outspent by Hillary Clinton in 2016 2-1, and he still had an epic landslide. So money does not mean victory when you have a candidate who can hardly walk up the stairs of Air Force One and can barely read off of a teleprompter. And that's what Obama and the Democrats are stuck with in Joe Biden. No amount of money, no amount of campaign stops from Obama and the Clintons will be able to help Joe Biden shuffle over the finish line. He is so weak. He shoots himself in the foot every single day, every time he speaks. And, independent Americans are swinging towards President Trump with a historic margin. There was a new Fox News poll last night. We're picking up independents by 14 points. President Trump's winning Hispanic Americans, which no Republican candidate in modern history has ever done. He's winning more than a quarter of the African American vote. I mean, if these numbers hold, and we have every intention of ensuring that they do, and we're confident that they will, November the 5th is going to be a very bad day for Biden and Obama and the Clintons and the entire Democrat establishment who hates Donald Trump so much and have done everything they possibly can to bring him down over the last 8 years.
I got to be honest. I love the phrase Biden shuffling across the finish line. I'm going to steal that going forward. I really like that.
Please do.
What do you think of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Running mate announcement this week? Is trying to get onto all these ballots. Democrats are trying across the country are trying to stop RFK from appearing on ballots. This has become a trend. Of course, the left is trying to stop all of Biden's political opponents, including Donald Trump, from appearing on the ballot. What do you make of Robert F. Kennedy's candidacy, and do you expect that it will help the Trump campaign?
Well, Robert F. Kennedy is a far-left Democrat, and so far-left Democrats in this country who don't like Joe Biden, because frankly no one does, well, now they have another option. Good for them. RFK is a radical environmentalist extremist. In fact, he has advocated for a national smart grid, which is unbelievable. I encourage your audience to go. There's a story actually today in the New York Post on this. about how he feels about our energy industry. And he's actually advocated for a national smart grid that would be controlled by the federal government, and the federal government can choose when they can turn off the grid to conserve water and energy. So RFK Jr. wants the feds to control how long you can shower in your own home and how long you can keep your lights on. I mean, that's communism, if you ask me. I don't think that most free-thinking, capitalist, pro-freedom Americans would agree with RFK Jr. on that. He's also, a radical when it comes to issues like abortion and so many others, welfare, higher taxes, more regulation. He wants bigger government at the end of the day. And we've seen what the heavy hand of the federal government does to small businesses and to hardworking people. We've been experiencing it for the last 3 years with the record high inflation and the crippling effects of Bidenomics. So I think RFK Jr. is much more of an issue for Biden than it will be for President Trump. And if anyone's a far lefty in your audience, well, they should vote for him.
Okay, and then finally, can you give us a preview of what we should expect in the weeks to come from the Trump campaign? Again, we're talking to Karoline Leavitt, the National Press Secretary. What's coming from Donald Trump's campaign going forward here?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the president will be traveling to the great battleground states of Michigan and Wisconsin next week. We're so excited about that. The Rust Belt in two states that propelled President Trump to his historic defeat over Hillary in 2016. We'll also be announcing many more events in the coming days and weeks. The president will continue to travel all around the country, bringing his winning message to every corner of the country. The Democrats wish he would just be confined to a courtroom and defeated. We have, unfortunately, this sham witch hunt in New York supposedly going to begin on April 15th. So the president will continue to fight through all these witch hunts, fight for truth and justice, and he'll continue to hit the campaign trail. No one works harder than him. I can tell you that, being his national press secretary. I am many years younger than the former president, and it's even difficult for me to keep up with him. He works around the clock, and he does it because he loves this country so very much, and he is distraught and disgusted over what Joe Biden has done to it in the matter of just 3 years. So you'll continue to see from him and hear from him all the time. He'll do spontaneous events and visits like he did today, and he'll be out there for sure.
And is he still authoring all of his own Truth Social posts, or do you do that these days?
We do have a staff that chips in, but trust me, it's him most of the time. And I think you can tell when it's the president himself.
It doesn't take much of a detective to figure it out. I think it is pretty easy to assess. Karoline Leavitt, thank you very much. Again, National Press Secretary for the Trump campaign. Appreciate your time today.